Radhe Radhe, Om Namah Shivaya, and happy Mahashivratri to one and all. A spiritual, blissful good morning and welcome to one and all in this first recap video for our continuing Bhagavad Gita study journey, wherein we have now embarked on chapter 7. Along with me here is Mummy for this recap video.
Radhe Radhe everybody and happy Mahashivratri. So today we started chapter 7.
Yes, so up on the screen, chapter 7 cover slide, and we'll look at chapter 7 verses 1 and 2 after, of course, the few quiz questions we did to help remind everybody about chapter 6 and set that stage and platform to then begin this chapter 7 journey. In fact, even before getting into verses 1 and 2, we first saw the introduction. So chapter 7 is Gyan Vignan Yog, the yog through the realization of divine knowledge. So we had a read through of the 2 paragraphs or the full lengthy paragraph of commentary in chapter 7 for the introduction. And as we mentioned, we'll unveil all that knowledge, or it'll be unveiled to us by Sri Krishna and by Swamiji's commentary and explanation as the weeks go by. The very brief comments that I'll make are that we had some important English words that we've seen before, but reminder again, omniscience, omnipresence, and omnipotence. So something for everybody to go back and review. Omniscience, all-knowing, all these are describing God. So all-knowing, omnipresence, all-pervading everywhere, and omnipotence, having infinite power, infinitely strong. So these are just 3 words out of many that one can use to describe the infinite powers and strengths of God. Final other comment is that we'll see this in a few weeks, but Sri Krishna mentions that he will explain that these various energies that have emanated from him, they rest in him as beads strung on a thread. So just to go back to our cover slide, keep that in mind here. That image here is trying to represent at least beads on a string. We'll see much more about that as the verses unfold. So over now to you, Mummy, for any comments on the introduction, and then we'll step into chapter 7, verse 1.
Yeah, thank you, Gagan. And as we started chapter 7, Jnana Vignan Yog, the yog through the realization of divine knowledge. So in this chapter, Krishna is explaining how everything has come from him and everything will go back into him. Everything rests in him. It's like the beads, strung on a thread. Dhage mein moti piroye hue. Okay? So, and he's the one who is the source of the entire creation. Now he has 2 energies. One is material energy, Maya, and Maya, he himself has spread it all over. It is very difficult to overcome. But to overcome, what do we need? We need to surrender. Very important, we need to surrender, and we need to attach our mind to God, and we need to be absorbed in Sri Krishna. Our mind needs to be attached and absorbed in Sri Krishna all the time. And that is when we will be, with full surrender, we will be able to attract Krishna's grace, which will help us cross over this ocean of Maya, this worldly Maya. And Krishna tells us which are the kind of people who surrender to him and do a lot of devotion, and which are the kind of people who do not surrender, because they are still into only knowledge. Because we will learn in this chapter what is the difference between knowledge and wisdom. And to get to see Sri Krishna, or to get God realization, to see that Purushottam, the God, the super person, who is omniscient, omnipresent, and who is omnipotent. That means he's all knowledgeable, all powerful, and he's all pervading. Now, he is hidden by a divine Yog Maya power. It is only when we have full surrender and loving devotion, attaching the mind to God all the time, only then God realization happens, and then only that person who reaches that level, that person is able to then see God. So we all can at least try, and let's start learning from these verses what Krishna is saying. So let's see verse number 1. We'll start the chapter with a prayer. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Saptamodhyayah. Jnana Vijnana Yogaha. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha. Maya Saktamanaf Partha. Yogam Yunjan Mad Ashrayaha. Asanshayam samagram ma yatha nyasyasi tachrinu. So we have seen some important words in this verse, and I will say a very important word is asakt manaha. Asakt manaha means the mind should be attached with God. Then look at mat ashrayaha. That means you have to surrender to Shri Krishna and be asanshayam, be free from doubt. Samagram, completely. Then you can understand Krishna completely. So over to you, Gagan.
Yeah, thank you, Mummy. Chapter 7, verse 1. The catchphrase here is Lord's listener. Sri Krishna, continuing now from chapter 6, in this opening verse of chapter 7, he says to Arjun, now listen, and with certain criteria or eligibility requirements. So listen to Sri Krishna with the mind attached exclusively to him and surrendering to Sri Krishna through yogam, the practice of bhakti yoga. And the result of that will be that he will be able to know Sri Krishna completely, free from doubt. So Sri Krishna in chapter 7 and onwards will explain how all that is possible. Swamiji reminds us, and we mentioned this through a quiz question as well, so please go back and revisit that material. Chapter 6, the very last verse, so chapter 6, verse 47, of all the yogis, the highest to Sri Krishna is the Bhakti Yogi. Therefore, we shall now talk about, or listen to Sri Krishna talk about how the Bhakti Yogi's practices will help us get that full knowledge of Sri Krishna. Again, it's important to have the mind always absorbed in Sri Krishna and to be free from doubt. Swamiji's commentary mentions that, Sri Krishna presupposes certain questions that Arjun hasn't stated yet, but each of us, and even Arjun, very likely had or have some of those questions. So for instance, fine, the Bhakti Yogi is the highest of all. How then, what is that way to know Sri Krishna? How should one be meditating upon Sri Krishna? How should a devotee worship Sri Krishna? These are questions that Sri Krishna is going to talk about. So as he gives more content in chapter 7, a lot of these responses will be unveiled, and that'll help us again get to that state of knowing Sri Krishna completely, free from doubt. Doubt, as we mentioned, it's appeared in several chapters and discussions before. The opposite, in a sense, is faith. Having that complete surrender and having extreme amounts of faith. That is very, very important. We saw that in chapter 6 as well. We saw that in chapter 4, for instance, when approaching a spiritual master or a guru. And that is, again, really, really essential to everyone. We also saw this, in the next words, we'll talk about Gyan and Vijnan. So we'll talk about connections there. But here again, it is about having the mind be focused exclusively on Sri Krishna. We'll next see chapter 7, verse 2.
Chapter 7, verse 2. Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshamya asheshataha yajñatva neha bhuyo nyat Nyat avyam avashishyate. So here two very important words now. Jnanam. Jnanam means knowledge. And Vijnanam. Vijnanam means wisdom. So these are two very important words here. And Vakshyami, that Sri Krishna is going to reveal. So let's understand. Gagan, over to you.
Yeah, chapter 7, verse 2, the catchphrase here as a question is no more knowledge. Once Sri Krishna reveals everything to us, he says that there will be nothing left to be known. So we won't know any more knowledge beyond that. We'll know it all. Likewise, if you think of K-N-O-W and make it sound, of course, the same as N-O, it's another way of asking, no more knowledge? So there's no more beyond that? Indeed, Sri Krishna says, once that full knowledge and wisdom, that's all completely revealed to us, there is nothing left to be known. So here we do come across these important terms Mummy mentioned, Jnanam and Vijnanam. So Gyan, knowledge that is acquired through the senses, mind, and the intellect. It's all theoretical knowledge. It comes through reading the scriptures. It comes even from lectures. It comes from a guru. But then with more and more sadhana, with more meditation, with practices that a bhakti yogi performs, and as the mind and heart get purified, there will be a stage of inner wisdom that gets unveiled. When that inner divine knowledge and wisdom gets unveiled, that is known as Vijnan. So that wisdom that's going to be unveiled, that is Vijnan. Swamiji gives two examples to help us relate to that. One is in the real world sense. We talk about honey in a bottle. We theoretically know that it's very, very sweet, but there is this state of experiential realization which will happen when we open the lid of the bottle and actually taste that honey. That is the equivalent Swamiji is telling us here of Vijnan after having Gyan. We often hear about all this spiritual wisdom, the rus of it being nectar. That is a state we all are trying to get to. And as Mummy said in class, Vijnan will come at a much, much later stage, could be many, many lifetimes after cultivating a lot of Gyan, as we all slowly rise up that ladder of Yog, the different rungs that we have talked about in chapter 6. The other example Swamiji gives is of sage Ved Vyas. Before writing the monumental and beautiful glories of Sri Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam, he first engaged in a lot of Bhakti Yoga. And so with that, with his mind completely focused on Sri Krishna, he was able to, of course, get God realization and that complete vision of the Supreme Divine Personality. And with that equipment, if you say, or with that preparation, he then went ahead to write everything in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So here for us, for Arjun, and for each of us as learners, and in fact as listeners from chapter 7, verse 1, as the Lord's listeners, we will eventually have this theoretical knowledge, this Gyan, elevate itself into that inner wisdom, Vijnan, and once that knowledge is known, nothing further will remain to be known. Final comment is a reminder. We talked about chapter 3 and chapter 6. Chapter 3, verse 41, in fact, that's the first time we saw Gyan and Vijnan. So please do go back and take a look at chapter 3, verse 41. And much more recently, hopefully in memory for a lot of us, is chapter 6, verse 8, talking about the yogi seeing everything as the same. Dirt, stones, and gold, because they have that inner knowledge and wisdom, and they have that practice of discrimination. So Gyan, Vijnan, chapter 6, verse 8. Mummy, over to you.
Yeah, you have said everything. All I will say that we all are, what we are trying to do here, this is just collecting some Gyan, some knowledge. Okay, so that is not going to help us for God realization. This is at the lowest rung we are. So slowly, when we keep on acquiring more and more divine knowledge, and then we keep on moving on the path of sadhana. Sadhana is very, very important. Loads of spiritual practices. Sadhana means when you attach your mind to God with loving devotion in your heart and complete surrender. These three conditions have to be fulfilled. And for many lifetimes, when we do sadhana, then only the saints have been able to experience the experiential knowledge and then realization. That is what is Vijnana. That is the wisdom. This is what Krishna is saying, that without asanshayam, without any doubt, mad ashrayam, surrender to me. And then you will have samagram, complete knowledge of me. And you will get the experiential realization. So Krishna is giving us the formula how to move about on the path of God realization. Slowly, as we unfold the other verses, we will keep on learning more and more. With that, I think over to you, Gagan.
Yeah, just some couple of announcements, given it's such a divine festive weekend. So before talking about Mahashivratri, just reminding everybody again that Swamiji's Bhakti Yog Sadhana Shivir is coming up in a few days, extremely nominal for registration. Please do take opportunity to participate in that online, or if you are attending in person. It's, as it says, it's going to actually talk about Bhakti saints. So lots in connection with perhaps what we concluded chapter 6 with and are now seeing chapter 7, the beginnings of. So
yes, what we are seeing today in verse number 2, that we can really try to experience in this sadhana shivir. Discourses on bhakti saints, how they reached that level, that state of consciousness. So we can also try to taste a little bit of that through this sadhana shivir. It is bhakti yoga. Krishna is saying it's through bhakti yoga only we can reach him. So let's give it a try.
Yes, certainly. That is definitely very intriguing and exciting. And then we have, as we mentioned, of course, it's the Mahashivratri weekend. So please do take part in the various celebrations and festivities in person or online from the Radha Krishna Temple of Dallas in Allen. So that's up here. And finally, of course, in connection with that, a reminder, as we showed in class, Jai Mahadeva, Jai Tripurari, Swamiji and Hari Anandji's latest bhajan for Mahashivratri out on JKYog Music and other platforms. Again, very devotional, very sweet to listen to. So please do check that out. And of course, in a couple of hours from now, or an hour and a half or so, we hope many of you will join us for our specially repurposed recitation class. Normally it's Bhagavad Gita recitation, but it'll be Mahashivratri recitation today. So Mummy has a couple of prayers that she will introduce us to. So she has that in store for us. Looking forward to that as we again continue for these Mahashivratri celebrations. In the meantime, happy spiritual journeys. We do look forward to seeing you in this Bhagavad Gita study series. Again, same time next Saturday. That'll be 25th February 2023, 8 a.m. Central Time, 7:30 p.m. India time. We'll continue with chapter 7. Thank you so much. Om Namah Shivaya. Happy Mahashivratri once again. Radhe Radhe.
Om Namah Shivaya and Radhe Radhe. Thank you very much.